Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who made the time to come out today. And in honor of the Youth Power PBLB launch year 2 for 2024. Woo! Yay! A big deal, big deal. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces, so I'm excited to walk you all through the journey of what our PB phase will kind of look like this year around. And as we get started, I do want to give some shout outs to all of our partners who kind of made this all happen. So the Office of Youth Development, of course. Shout out to David, Jay Nyla, folks in the area who's here. The nonprofit partnership. Unfortunately, they're not able to be here, but shout them out to the Investing Youth Coalition, Long Beach, the City of Long Beach, and the Department of Geography at the Cal State Long Beach. And then also giving a shout out to the Mayor's Office, who has been an integral partner in our in this process with securing like locations and supporting pushing the PB budget even further. So yeah, shout out to all of our partners. So let's give them a round of applause again. Yeah, and then I forgot to introduce myself. I go by Poe. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the lead organizer with Khmer Girls in Action, as well as the lead for the PB steering committee, this PB process. So yeah. So going over the agenda for today, that way folks are have the idea of what we're going to be talking about and going through. So we're going to do a little bit of introductions into the PB, some grounding into youth power, talk about the process a little bit more, talking about the eligibility for this round, since there are some new changes, as you can see in the rulebook that are placed on your desk if you have any handouts available. And then doing a deeper dive into the youth strategic plan goals. And then the second half will be breaking out into breakout groups, and doing a dot democracy. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with next steps and closing. So jumping into Youth Power PB Long Beach year 2. So the purpose of this info session, as well as the idea collection kickoff, we're having this launch and to provide an introduction to what PB is. So some of you all might be familiar with it, some might be new to it. So we definitely want to share how our process is, because every process is different. And also a way for you all to meet and build relationships with each other amongst youth and youth serving organizations here in Long Beach. And also to meet the needs of young Long Beach youth by bringing together our best thinking and generating fun and innovative ideas that will help us advance the goal of the Youth and Emerging Adult Strategic Plan, also known as the YSP, that we'll talk a little bit more. And then this picture, just highlighting, this was the kickoff to PB last year, just to orientate the community what PB was too. So yeah. What is participatory budgeting, also known as PB? It originally started in Brazil in 1989 and then practiced globally throughout the years. So it is a democratic process in which community members directly decide how to spend a part of the public budget. It was first introduced in the US in Chicago in 2009 with youth PB sites in Portland, Boston, and Long Beach, and more. But specifically, a little bit over 10 years ago, it finally launched in Long Beach, in District 7, 1, 3, 9, also having the PB process around like Best Start Central Long Beach, and then last year for the first citywide Youth Power PB pilot process. I'm actually gonna pass it over to Gary and David to share a little bit more about how it was introduced in Long Beach, because I think it's always good to announce that too. Share that story.
Yeah, PB was launched in, as Poe said, in 2009 in the U.S. I brought it to Long Beach in 2013. We had a series of meetings with all the council members at the time, with the staff at the time. We actually were running, the Long Beach Coalition was now the Long Beach for a Just Economy. We ran a series of power analysis workshops. One of those was over budgets. And the idea of the power analyst workshops were analyzing sites of power in Long Beach. Obviously, the budget is one of those, and PB fit into that. We launched then when Rex Richardson was his first year as a council member, the summer of 2014. He used that as a sort of a pathway into building the Uptown project that he's known for, and sort of the rebuilding of North Long Beach, or really sort of engaging North Long Beach residents about improving our communities up here. So we launched with Rex in the fall, or in the summer of 2014. We ran two years of PB with Rex. We also ran, as Poe said, in 1-7, and we had a youth PB process completely run by youth in District 3. So at that time, there were only two youth PB processes in the country, and Long Beach was one. Boston's probably the oldest. There aren't many youth PB processes. There's more now, but Long Beach is on the sort of the forefront, and people are talking around the country about the work that you all are doing here. So you should be really excited about this. This is not a small thing that you're doing. It's a lot of work, as you know, but it's incredibly uplifting, incredibly powerful process. And every year we're going to build this out. We're going to include more and more folks. So keep that in mind. We're going to have more idea collection events like this. In fact, we have a youth one, and Poe will talk about it. But spread the word, because we want as many youth and youth-serving organizations as possible to participate in this process. There's a lot of opportunity. Let's build this piece out as we move forward. After the council districts, haven't forgot my train of thought. After the council districts PB processes, there were a couple years that we didn't do a PB, and then there's David, and we circled back and we launched through Best Start Central Long Beach, and David was part of that, and I'm going to let David talk a little bit about that. So that was the next phase, and obviously this PB process is the third phase. David. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. So yeah, we did a PB process in Best Start Central Long Beach, and Best Start is an initiative that supports children and families, children specifically 0 to 5 and their families, and it's a systems change initiative. And we did it in 2020 amidst the pandemic, and we kept the process going. We went all digital, but it was the first PB process I was a part of, and we had a few $100,000 to vote on PB. An example I like to use with PB, the simplest one is, let's say right now I had $100,000 and I wanted to fund a summer project this summer. Let's come up with three random ideas for summer projects. Can I get a random idea for right here?
Youth swimming lessons.
Youth swimming lessons. Okay, that's project number one. Let's get another idea.
Pre-teach subjects in the fall.
What was that?
Pre-teach subjects they're going to take in the fall.
Pre-teach subjects they're going to take in the fall. Project number two. Third one?
International student exchange.
International student exchange. Okay. So we have swim lessons, all right, and youth swim lessons, pre-teach subjects in the fall, and international student exchange. Okay. Everyone's vote is going to be your hand. Okay. So if you vote to spend the $100,000 on youth swim lessons, raise your hand.
I can't swim.
Okay. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I'll say 15. I'll say 15 votes right there. If you vote on pre-teaching classes they're going to learn in the fall, raise your hand. I see 10. And then if you vote on international studies, international student exchange, raise your hand. Okay, like 20 votes. So the $100,000 is going into the International Student Exchange. That's just an example of participatory budgeting. And that's what we're here to do today. And in Best Start, we did it, and we partnered with community leaders all throughout Central Long Beach. And one of the projects a community leader put forward was providing transportation to community leaders to get to all the community events in Long Beach. So all these community leaders, their transportation was funded through this project. And they partnered with the nonprofit, and that nonprofit was Long Beach 4. So a community leader put forward the idea, and then a community leader went to a nonprofit, asked them to help them actually implement the idea, take the idea from a thought actually to action, implementation, and execution. That's a big example of participatory budgeting, and it puts the power in the people who are part of the process. And that's why we brought it to the Youth Fund. This is our third year of the Youth Fund, and yet last year was our first year with PB. In the first year, we didn't do PB. We just had a panel who decided on who gets the funding. Second year, we did PB, and we had 852 votes. And then third year, now we're doing PB again, just like we did in Central Long Beach, just like we did last year. And we're hoping for a couple thousand youth to vote on how to spend $400,000. It's a powerful process, and lots of the young people who vote on this this is their first time ever get involved civically, first time ever civically engaged. And it gets them that entry point and to feel like they have some say and some decision-making power of how public dollars are being used throughout the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gary. Thanks, David. I always love hearing the stories of like how PB was ran before, because it just also motivates us and empowers us to be better at it and to include more young people's voices in the process and giving them that real power that they deserve to have. So yeah. For the sake of time, we are running a little behind, but all of the videos will be posted on the Investing Youth website. But yeah, just demonstrating that we want to make sure that young people have real power to decide how to spend real money in certain areas, like David just mentioned too. Yep, let's go to, okay. All right, so why participatory budgeting? Like David mentioned too, is also to celebrate the legacy of youth power in Long Beach. There's a lot of young people in Long Beach, and a lot of you all are here today, which it makes me happy because this is like for you all, right? For your future. Like I know Jane Isla mentioned too that we always say youth are the future, but in reality they're the now, and they're fighting for their future. So this process like really encourages that that creative space for them to do that and to have the creativity and the power to decide on what summer programs fit for them and what they want to see for themselves this summer. So any questions? And I feel like this gift kind of like really explains it. It's like when we empower young people, they empower other young people, and it's a domino effect, right? So we want to continue holding them in the space and centering their voices and their lived experience. I want to go a little bit to talk about our specific PB phase. So like I mentioned before, a lot of PB process are different. So for ours, our first phase right now that we're currently in is phase 1, which is the open call for ideas. So we're inviting young people, community-based and youth-serving organizations who live, work, and or play in Long Beach to submit their ideas that they would like to receive funding for. And then in the second phase, we're going to invite, select and invite. So the PB steering committee will gather together after the idea proposals are closed to really categorize the themes and categories of the youth strategic plan goals, which are the 5 goals: health and wellness, planning for the future, community care, housing and transportation. And then from there, we'll invite the groups who participate in the next phase, which is the collaboration phase for phase 3. So this is the part where we invite all the groups who made it through the second round to be a part of the youth budget delegates to really do extra research, design, and create their budget for the proposal that they want to get funding on. And this is the part where it's really crucial, because this is where either the young person who submitted the idea or the youth serving orgs, you're going to be working with all of the other young people who are part of the steering committee and the youth budget delegates to really make this project centered around youth voices. So that's like the fun part about it, right? And then lastly, and the last phase is the voter fair, where we're gonna launch the 10 days of voting and doing a big kickoff at a location in one of the districts here in Long Beach, where youth ages 13 to 26 who live, learn, work, and or play in Long Beach will vote to decide which project they want to receive funding. And like David said earlier, last year when we did run the PB process, we had over 850 votes. And this year we want to make sure that increases double or even triple, right? So we want to encourage young people all across to come out and vote and participate. And that's where you all come in too, since some of these ideas are coming from you all as youth serving orgs, to share it with your bases and share it with your networks too, to make it happen. Any questions on our phases? Pretty straightforward, right? All right, cool. So now we're moving into the idea collection phase to talk about the eligibilities, the goals, and how you can get your ideas moved to the next phase. Like mentioned before, we do, last year when we ran the PB process, we had $300,000 for positive youth development. This year, with the help of the mayor, we were able to increase it to $400,000, so $100,000 more into positive youth development. So yeah, let's give it up for that. More funding. And we know it's not enough, but this is a start. And hopefully, as the year go by and the more participants participate in this process, we can increase it more and more every year, and hopefully get it to maybe multi-million. Who knows? Think big. Think big. So yeah. There are some changes, like I mentioned in the beginning. We held 2 rulebook writing sessions with young people across Long Beach to really look at the rulebook and see what worked last year, what didn't work, what they want to take out, what they want to change. So some of the things that are changed, for one of the eligibility, as long as your summer program helps advance one or more goals for the YSP, that's a good thing, right? So as long as it touches health and wellness, planning for the future, community care, housing, or transportation, it just has to meet one of those goals and uplift it. And then as you're submitting your idea proposals, you want to make sure that it provides positive youth development, that it creates systems change. And when we talk about systems change, we want to make sure that it's long-term and not a one thing, right? It's not a band-aid that we could just put over and cover, but we want to make it long-term and lasting for them to take on for future generations to come, right? And we want to make sure that your ideas are coming from youth. So when we say youth created, maybe they came up with the proposal or the idea, right? Or it's initiated by one of your young people that you work with, or who's on the team, a volunteer, things like that. But just making sure that it's youth created and are initiated. And then making sure that it's specific and measurable, and that if you're submitting an idea proposal that you are a 501c3 or have a fiscal sponsor to receive that funding if you end up getting chosen. And making sure that when you're submitting your idea, that it also fits the range of age, that can fit the range of young people ages 8 to 24. That's also in our Youth Strategic Plan book too. Any questions on that part? And then if there's more detailed in the rule book that we have on your tables, and we will be sending folks copies, or if you can go onto our Investing Youth website, which all of the links are located there, as well as the rule book, you can have access to all of that as well. And then another thing is when you're submitting your idea proposal, you have to make sure that you're utilizing the funds in the summer. So you have about from the ending of May all the way to September to use that fund. And a new thing that young people voted on was the minimum and maximum that orgs can request. So the minimum that orgs can request is $10,000, and then the maximum is $50,000. Last year, when we ran the PB process, it was a minimum of $10,000, and then the maximum of $70,000. So it is a little bit different, just because we want to make sure we're able to fund more programs too this year. All right, so moving on to do a deeper dive, I'm going to pass it to Jay Nyla to walk us through the Youth Strategic Plan goals.
Yeah, y'all, so this is the document that I've been mentioning through our orientation, through the last meetings that we've had, the document that we had last year. And it's not just a document, this is a living investment. This is effort of 757 youth in surveys and teams of youth, so many youth. And this work has been happening since 2004. So we're really getting into this era of youth right now, as one of my colleagues calls it. And we want to make sure that we continue to align this with our goals. So there is a community agreement suggested, keep the goal in mind. That's definitely what we want to do with this document. And it houses those 5 goals that we're working with. And I know in our last meeting, 2 meetings ago, there was someone who said, I have a really hard time framing my ideas and sometimes framing my questions. Look at this document. There might be something in there that really relates to one of your ideas. You might pick up a word or two or a concept or two. You can make that research, and you can see who contributed to that. Because in the back of the document, all the youth that contributed to this and that kept it going and did that research collection in their neighborhoods, online during the pandemic, they're in there. And they're still going to school, they're still walking around. Check them out. And I also want to mention that this is something that really is state of the art as far as how this is all going here. And pretty soon, in 2 weeks, we're going to be convening city departments, making sure that they're actually staying accountable to making these goals happen. We have 2 more years to do that. So y'all are a part of this. Y'all are the back end. Y'all are the power behind that convening, and they're going to know how many people are trying to keep them accountable. So thank you for showing up consistently. And we clearly filled the room today. Thank you very much. And as far as our steering committee roles go, so the youth who have come every time, y'all are our steering committee. And if you go into the budget delegate phase, this is a document that you reference when you're unsure about whether or not an organization is keeping with the goal. Okay? So get this on your phones, get this on your e-readers, on your desktops, anywhere you need to see it. It's 71 pages, so it's a little thick. But I highly recommend getting to know it and watching it grow and change as we continue to have positive development for youth in Long Beach. So this is our goals. I mentioned 5 because we prioritize 5, but this is all of them. And like I said, this effort has been driven by youth at every turn, and we want to keep it that way. So we also instituted a new rule. We want to see 2-to-1 ratio. So per every adult, there's 2 youth. And that's just a suggestion. We're hoping to see more. But we really want to check our adultism at the door and make sure people are actually getting heard. So, okay, and I'm going to pass it back to you, Poe.
All right, so I'm just gonna go briefly over some of the past idea proposals that we got last year. So for Goal 2, physical health, mental health, and emotional wellness, we had a program called Sunset Boxing and Wellness Program. We had a Summer Jazz and much more, also known as Summer Jam, and then Summer Full of Art program. That was for Goal 2. Goal 3, planning for the future. Some of the past idea proposals we received, it was Long Beach Blast and then the Black Sheep, which you can read a little bit of description. Just for the time, I'm just gonna read the name of it, and then folks can read the description too. Goal 4 for community care, some idea proposals in the past is I Matter 2 program, and then SPCA LA, Friends for a Life Summer Camp, that was another one. For Goal 5, housing, it's on the CASA program. And then last but not least, transportation, ignition to the independence, car and driver 101 program. So as you can see, as we went through it, the proposal amount kind of went down, right? So we want to make sure that we do submit idea proposal that fits at least all of the goals, if not more. But yeah, definitely wanting to see like a lot more like housing and transportation too, since we mainly got like 1 or 2. To our next activity, if I should say, so we're gonna break out into small groups right now to generate some ideas, since the new thing on the rulebook is that we want the ideas to be created by young people or initiated by young people. So we're gonna count everyone off 1 to 5 to determine the group you're gonna be in, pertaining to the 5 goals that we were just talking about, health and wellness, planning for the future, community care, housing and transportation. And then you will have 15 minutes in your small breakout groups to kind of share ideas, listen to others, have conversation, and learn from one another. And then in your small groups, before you come back within that 15 minutes, please identify a note taker and 1 or 2 people to report back. And then also identifying your top 5 best ideas that you all came together with as a group to share back to the group. All right, thank you everyone for taking the time to do that. I know it wasn't a lot of time to have like good, deep conversations, but I did hear a lot of good conversation. I see a lot of ideas on the butchers. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna ask each group to identify their speakers to like report back on some of their top ideas that they chose and came up with. And then from there, we're gonna do a group dot democracy at the end. But if we can limit it to 2 minutes per group, that would be great. So can I have anyone from group 1 for health and wellness? Who's the, yes? Okay, I'm gonna give you the mic. You can just hold it and then, yeah.
This is so fancy. I've never seen this. Okay. Do I go? Oh, okay.
2 minutes starts now.
Okay, great. So I was inspired by the reproductive justice on the screen. We kind of talked about doing like a little club or something, probably in high schools, where people can come together, support each other, and also learn about reproductive justice and have some leadership that is very knowledgeable and learn about the laws surrounding it and that sort of thing. So we thought that that could be good. And then we also had another speaker.
Who's on speaker? Oh, okay.
And then the other idea was, I think it was like a wellness center. So similar to many of our schools in Long Beach, we have like wellness centers. So they offer like counseling and just kind of like a safe space to reside. So we think just offering that for during the summer would be a good, good opportunity for kids just to either, they don't have to seek counseling, but just like just a safe space to do whatever they want. Yeah.
Thank you, Group 1. And then moving on to goal 2.
For group 2, community care, we talked about things that would kind of like both unify our communities and also like help them in some way. So we talked about like doing some kind of mural or some kind of like summer camp program, and we had another speaker. Do you wanna?
Oh yeah. And then for the mural, we're like thinking about like storytelling and kind of sharing other people's story through art. And then some other weird ideas we came up with was like they talked about the summer camp and like a sports space would be fun, like community competition type. Yeah.
Yay, thank you, Group 2, community care. Group 3, planning for the future.
So for goal 3, planning for the future. Oh yeah. We discussed financial literacy, like budgeting, taxes, and job readiness. So like classes that could help youth with that. And then career exploration, and then exploring like hobbies and special interests.
Yeah. And other than that, we looked at one of the goals, which was to expand economic capital and social mobility, as well as alleviate anxieties and planning for the future. And some ways that we were looking at stress management, as some of these planning for the futures can be really stressful, especially for things like, college and going to your first job and things like that. So stress management, we think, would be a good idea to help alleviate some of that anxiety, as well as cultural things that would help unify students and give them better communities to support them in their journey forward.
Thank you, I can relate to all of that. Aiden for Group 4?
My name's Aiden. You guys are all looking good today. So Group 4, we got had we discussed some problems and we discussed some solutions. So we would like legit rental assistance, and we had the idea of having stipends and scholarships for like helping you start up, get in some housing. We want it to be affordable, safe, and available. We want to learn more about credit. We want the opportunity to learn what does that even mean. Like, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure most of the kids here don't even know what credit mean. We want help with specific demographics, like communities, districts, and cultures who have like either language barriers. You ever have like your elderly person asking a little 8-year-old to fill out a document? We need some help with that. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, like, yeah. We had the idea of like a dorm type situation. We have, let's say, like a dorm building somewhere, and we would have like a transportation system, like a tram, taking certain people from school or from work to their dorms. And the way the dorm system will work, we would have a rental assistant mentor. We'd have laundry facilities. I know a lot of people growing up, they have to go to the dirty laundromat. You open it, there's mold, mildew on the laundry thing. You gotta help your grandma push a cart down like 2 blocks, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's all we really. Did I miss anything? Anyone from my group?
Good job. All right, last but not least, transportation.
I got it right here.
All right, like we're talking about problems within transportation. So we talked about how even if there is there is buses that like those buses that are free for use, but they're often dangerous and they're not, and even some of the bus stops are not really accessible to their home. And then another thing we talked about, even even like the hourly, right? They're not really youth friendly hours as well. So there's a couple of, things that we came up with. First, we talked about transportation to summer programs. So this program would be like a kind of complementary to those who want the other programs. So it'll be a transportation to, for example, like a health and wellness program or whatever it is. The second one was the ferry to Catalina Islands. That's just more like a fun thing, just so, who doesn't like going to Catalina Islands? I've actually never gone to Catalina Islands, so it'll be fun for me. And then the next one will be a biking program for teens. So there is bikes around Long Beach, but we want something that's dedicated for youth. And we were thinking, like, maybe could you put your school ID? And I don't know what goes about the coding behind all that. That's not my problem. That's something we just suggest, And I'll pass it on to you to talk about the first two. Or I could just finish it off for you. And then also just dedicated funding for transportation to school events. So maybe like a college tour or something like that. So specific fund transportation for that. And then also transportation for like fun areas in LA County, just not Long Beach. So going to LACMA, for example, going to Santa Monica Pier. I'm just throwing out random areas in LA County. But yeah, that's what we came up with.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Group 5. So there's a lot of great ideas that came out of it, as folks just heard. So what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna try to narrow it down to one goal that they really love and they want to see get funded. So two per goal?
Yeah, at least two.
At least two per goal. So everyone, if not, should have got the dots, right? Does everyone have sticker dots? Yes. Everyone knows what adopt democracy is, right? Yes. So for folks who are unsure or it's new to them, so adopt democracy is that we're going to give you a sheet of sticker dots. Everyone will get 5 sticker dots for 1 vote per goal. So you will get to vote for one thing in each goal. So that's 1 vote for health and wellness, for community care, for housing, transportation, and then planning for the future. So everyone will get to cast 1 vote per goal, and then the top 2 who gets the most votes, we're gonna move it to the next round and see if any youth serving organizations want to sponsor it or back it to work with the young people who came up with it. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, so we're gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes. If everyone can take turns going and looking at all the ideas and putting your dots on there, and then we'll come back and then assess which one got the most votes. So what we're gonna do with the top choices is that we're gonna take it back to the PB core team and the steering committee. And then once folks start submitting ideas or checking when you're submitting ideas, there's gonna be a checkbox on the Google form that says if you wanna sponsor one of the ideas or if you wanna work with the youth serving org too. So then these are the ideas that are gonna be in the pool of opportunities that you all can build bridges together and work on it to really make this happen from the young people's perspective of what they want to see for the summer programs. All right. So as I'm talking about the closing, I do want to go into next steps since we are almost at time. So idea collection form is now open. So it is open right now. If you are feeling empowered to go home and type it up, feel free. You do have a good amount of time. So the deadline to submit your final ideas is Sunday, February 18th. At 11:59 p.m. Don't wait until the midnight time and do a little bit before because there is tech problems that come into play. So all the procrastinators out there, I'm included in that. Just make sure you get it in before February 18th, okay? To make sure that your ideas will be put into the next phase for us, for the steering committee to vote for.
So this is for youth and orgs, right?
Mm-hmm. You can submit your idea, and then we can ask youth serving orgs if they want to sponsor that too. Yeah. So open to everyone. So for folks who are submitting idea proposals for young people, we are asking that you're within the age of 13 to 26 to submit idea proposals. Okay. And then also as well as youth serving orgs. And then also, if you want to stay reminded to check your emails for updates and reminders around like deadlines when we're having our next event, which I'm going to talk about in the next section in a bit. And if you sign up to be to participate in the PB steering committee, I will be reaching out to you by next week to start our orientation to go over roles and responsibility again before we start going into a deeper dive into these idea collections and IDing, which are going to be the ones moving forward to phase 3. All right. And then the next announcement is that we do have our second in-person idea collection info session like we did today, but it is strictly for youth only because we want to make sure that we generate more ideas for young people and really set the pool of ideas which at a larger scale. All right. So it's going to be February 8th from 4 to 6 p.m. Location is to be announced. We are still in discussion about that. But if you're on our email listserv, you'll be getting the information through your email or text. All right. And then another thing we wanted to ask if folks are interested in volunteering for the phase 3, which is the youth budget delegates phase, please sign up through this link right here. Also, the link was on the wall, but you can have access to the link right here. It's just bit.ly/PB Rose 2024 for you to be participating in this phase where we're going to really cultivate the program and make it like live. That way, when it comes to the voter fair, everything's good to go and young people have access to vote.